Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Sharifa Yatim, and today we will be having an amazing talk or moderating about, as usual, discussion about an article in the ABA Journal Club. So I really quickly want to talk about what is the ABA Journal Club. It's a volunteer-based and a nonprofit initiative. It's the whole purpose of it is to disseminate knowledge in ABA through reading and discussing and enriching your information through articles. And it's been founded by three Marathi BCBAs, myself, Sharifa Yatim, Manal Aryani, and Nasib Al-Amri. So really quickly, the club membership is open for everyone. You guys can email us, the ABA Journal Club at gmail.com, and the registration link is in the chat. We will add that in a few minutes. Of course, we want to collaborate, and thanks for the collaboration with the Emirates College for Advanced Education for giving us the opportunity to collaborate with them in order to fulfill the CEUs for all BCBAs that are collecting their 32 CEUs, and hopefully this one would be an interesting one. As you guys know, that the CEU, there's one free BACB learning CEU, so make sure that you keep an eye on or keep your ears open for the two codes to make sure that you are with us. So let me quickly talk about the Instagram social media for ABA Journal Club. We also have the previous sessions on YouTube and the website of the ACAE YouTube channel. And that's it. So we will first start with an quick introduction about our wonderful moderator. She is the program manager of the STAR project in Amman, and she's also a behavior consultant at the Creative Behavior Solutions in London and organization behavior management consultant at the Crystal Learning Center in Vancouver. So thank you so much, Haneen, for volunteering your time and your busy schedule for helping us to review articles based on evidence-based practices, and hopefully that would help practitioners that are listening to today's talk and how we can actually implement such programs or such new articles into our practice. One of the most important things that we need to also consider as part of the ABA Journal Club is that um, the articles that have been chosen should have an empirical evidence behind it, but also doesn't have to, but at least we need to discuss the 7 dimensions of ABA, as you guys know. And so at the end of the hour, hopefully by the last 10 minutes, we will discuss whether this article meets the 7 dimensions of ABA or not. And that's it. So you have the floor, Haneen.
Thank you, Sharifa. Thank you so much. I'll pull up the slides just to kind of like get us started. There we go. Can everyone see the slides? You can just like say something in the chat.
Yes, that looks good. Haneen, looks good.
Thank you. All right, so thank you so much, Sharifa, for the introduction. As she said, my name is Haneen. I am a BCBA. I am currently based out of Qatar, but obviously I collaborate with other organizations and other BCBAs and BCBAVs all over the world at this point. Thank you so much for attending today. The study that I am going to be covering is a fairly recent one. It is from 2017, and it is regarding technology-enhanced ABA intervention in children with autism. It is a pilot study, so they have a small sample of kiddos who they ran the study on, and based on that, they came up with some findings, which we will examine at the end of today's presentation. Additionally, I would like to kind of stress, because for me, I believe any study without context is near meaningless, right? So the context for this study is, of course, pre-pandemic, but it does touch on a lot of things when it comes to enhancing ABA with technology that we found to be extremely useful later, once the pandemic hit and realized all of our kind of business model needed to change, all of our therapy presentation model also needed to change. So please keep that in mind in this study, and keep in mind that a lot of their findings might kind of translate differently in your mind today, having experienced technology enhanced ABA over the past 2 years. So for our next slide, it's just our context for today, our table of contents. First, we have our intro, then we're going to be covering the intervention, then we're going to be covering method, results, discussion, application, and finally, we are going to be judging this article, see if it meets the 7 dimensions, see if it meets some of them, if not all, and then we can talk a little bit more about that. So just to kind of explain a little bit more, this study investigates whether ICT technology can enhance applied behavior analysis, ABA, rehabilitation therapy, for children with autism. So just so that everyone here is aware, this study almost exclusively measured against children with autism. That is obviously not to say that that is the only application of ABA, or that is the only application the technology and ABA can kind of mix, but that is the current study's focus. And so let's keep that in mind when later we talk about the details that are in this study. A technology-enhanced rehabilitation system to support the daily work of ABA tutors, parents, teachers was created, and it was involving ABA experts and parents of autistic children in the entire design phase in order to better understand the system's functional requirements and to enhance its usability. So before anything started, they made sure that they took a lot of input from parents, teachers, ABA professionals, so that the study can kind of work better with their requirements and what they actually needed from it. And thus, they had combined the ABA programs with the learning analytics tool. So if I want you to take one thing away from today's workshop, is that this study ended up developing a free to access for all tool that was essentially an app called ABCDSW. And in this app, it was an open source web application that you can take and that you can make very, very specific to your kiddos, to your programs, and then to maybe even take it further and have it be accessible in the home. I know that a lot of us today may use technology, and we use technology to either collect the data, or we use technology to keep track of the development of our kiddos, or maybe even to deliver the intervention itself. This particular study had combined all three and had combined it into this free to access web application that everyone can access to. And what I found to be really revolutionary, because I myself work with technology, but all of it is paid, and it can sometimes be a hindrance for parents to access because not everyone can afford it, and it can be affordable but not really worth it for some parents. They could be like, you know what, I don't think so, let's continue the paper method. But this one is free to access, so a lot of parents who aren't really sure might go on and give it a try, which is what the hope is for all kinds of therapies. So this small pilot study, the system was tested on 7 children with autism, and they were enrolled in an intensive intervention lasting 9 months. The children were assessed before and after the study for a pre-test and a post-test. The assessment was using the Vineland Adaptive Behavior Scales to measure their personal and social skills. The test participants showed improved communication, especially in the expressive category, which is measured on the scale as a P0.05. The subjective feedback from the ABA team involved in the user test confirmed that the children's improvement was in socialization, communication, and even in their behaviors. The app ABCDSW expedited the intervention and thus obviously increased its efficiency, and it made it more pleasant for the children, because this study later on goes on to explain that a lot of children involved in the study previously had shown warmth toward technology, wanting to use technology, but this was the first time that they were able to use that fondness and take advantage of it in the study itself, in the therapy itself. Furthermore, ABCDSW enabled caregivers to easily conduct and personalize the intervention. They reduced the cost. The study seems to suggest that ABCDSW and the IC technology in general can enhance ABA rehabilitation for children with autism. And obviously, the study ends on a note of saying that we are encouraging further investigation for this promising research field. So before we move on to the next slide, I want to open up the floor for a question that I have for everyone here. Do you use currently in your practice, in your companies, yada, 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 do you use any kind of application? Do you use any kind of online data collection system? How do you incorporate technology? If you can say yes or no, or the name of the application that you're currently using, can you tell me in the chat? Hi, Rasmus. I have used it in the past. It's really fun. All right, I have one saying that they don't use. I would love that you take away from today's session that you might open up your mind to using it in the future. All right, so we have someone here saying that in the past they've used the New England Center for Children's Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia. Someone here talked about ACE. I have heard of ACE in the past. I know someone is saying, I don't know if it's relevant, but I am using twinkle symbols. I'm not familiar with that, but I am positive it is relevant. We have more people typing. I'm just going to give it up for 2 more answers, and then we can obviously move on to the next slide. ACE Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia, or is it a different ACE? Oh, VP Map. Yes, that is. I think there is an online component to the VP Map. Thank you, everyone, for your input. All right. That's okay. All right. So to introduce the study, I believe since it is a very ASD specific study, we would all benefit from at least agreeing on the definition. And even if you have some reservations about this particular definition, that is completely okay. I myself have reservations about many definitions I've heard over the years. But this is the study that, but this is the definition that the study makers have kind of decided on before they began looking for participants. They have defined ASD, or autism spectrum disorder, as delays or anomalies appearing in children before 3 years of age in at least one of 3 areas: social interaction, communication, social use of language, and symbolic or imaginative play. Now, again, the study stresses on the fact that ABA is one of many interventions that have been used with children on the spectrum. Since the 1970s, different approaches have been proposed to deliver effective learning to children with autism, including applied behavior analysis, treatment and education of autistic and related communication handicapped children, TEACH, and recently, developmental individual difference and relationship-based model, DIR, and the early Denver model. This study's aim is, in this study, we presented in this paper, we aim to investigate whether information and communication technology, ICT, can in some way enhance ABA rehab. therapy for children with autism. Now, the criteria that was developed especially for this study is 8 parts. And I am going to say the 8 parts right now. Please keep those in mind as they are what they will revert back to whenever they talk about the impact that was felt or not felt in the study. Efficiency, flexibility, accessibility, engagement, scalability, cost saving, accuracy, and the very last one, usability. For the next slide, they kind of try to explain a little bit about why they are going for ABA and why are they combining their model, their ABCDSW app with ABA specifically, even though having looked at it myself, I know that it is compatible with many different therapies. The reasoning is that there are obviously several treatments available. Of these, the study has concluded that ABA has shown evidence of effectiveness and experimental trials, also with low-functioning people. Now, I know that everyone here may have some reservations about the using of functioning, low functioning versus high functioning. However, they are using this model to measure where the child is developmentally. And when they say low functioning, they mean still emerging when it comes to a lot of their social communication skills. The noticeable progress has been observed in applying the AI-BI models in the past, specifically 25, 30 hours per week in one-to-one interventions for 2 to more years beginning before the age of 5. So this very, very specific criteria, 25 to 30 hours per week, one-to-one interventions for 2 or more years beginning before the age of 5. This model has the strongest evidence that it is the most effective when it comes to lower functioning children on the autism spectrum. Moreover, ABA has shown effectiveness in addressing challenging behaviors and skill deficits in older children and adolescents. However, this study decided to pair itself with an AI-BI model. So let's keep that in mind, that any results that come from today's presentation will show this app being used exclusively with the AI-BI model. The intervention itself, they touch upon AAC, so also technology enhanced AAC, in this specific case, ABCDSW. So obviously a lot of us use AACs in our practices. I know that almost everyone here would be familiar with PECs. There's also some older generation communicators such as GoTalk, Tango, Dynavox, ActivityPad, and all of those have, over the past 5, 6, maybe even 10 years have slowly been recently replaced with apps that are more usable, flexible, scalable, and adaptable. And then also they're very easy to learn from. And they are also obviously considered to be significantly less expensive because once you are going on the app, you no longer have to purchase any kind of additions as you would previously when it came to PECs or any of the older generation communicators. Now, a simple user interface normally enables ABA professionals and caregivers to create new elements for places and relative categories, and that needs to be personalized with elements familiar to the child, such as their own house. They would need to use a very specific picture or relevance that the child can communicate it to be in their own house. Same thing to their school, the park they attend to, their own mother, their own dad, their own sister or brother. And that kind of reference point needs to be very specific to the child because ultimately before you could personalize it, but it was a lot more difficult. However, when you are using a web application, it is much easier to augmentate that with a picture. Summarizing, there are several ABA principles that were kind of like embedded in the ABCDSW, and that kind of is what drove the studies to use this kind of ABA model with their app. They have used errorless learning. So a lot of times the app would kind of stop the child before they make a mistake, or it wouldn't even give in to the wrong answer. So a lot of us, when we are presenting errorless learning to our kiddos, we understand that it can be very difficult to stop the errors from happening. However, using this specific web application, the errorless facet is built in. Also, there are learning by increasing levels of difficulties according to the DCT. So again, a lot of us, we use our sets when we are building up our kids in their programs. This is inbuilt where nobody can progress using the app unless they hit their targets. It was very, very flexible so that the person delivering the intervention, the RBT, they can take a step back and they can change something so that it becomes more flexible and more easy for the child. That was also inbuilt into the app. It is very comprehensible for the children, and it also monitors the progress itself. It automatically gives you a report at the end of the day. It automatically gives a report at the end of the month. And obviously everyone can have access to these reports, including the parents, other service providers, any collaborators. Let's talk a little bit more about the specific details that happened in the study, the method. As I was talking before, there were 7 children with autism that were enrolled. They were enrolled during the school year in an intensive ABA intervention at school and at home, ranging from 25 to 29, 30 hours per week. The ages, ideally measured in months, were between 30 months to 72 months. However, there was one exception of one low-functioning child that was 10 years old. They had cognitive abilities, estimated age in that range, within the range of the other 7 children. However, it was decided to accept that one child out of the age range in order to gather observations about any possible engagement of the older subjects with the SWABCD app. So just note that later on, this particular older child's data was removed as he does not fit with the criteria, but it was still available for access by anyone reading the study, just to understand how an older child can fare using this application. Additionally, diagnostic of autistic or disorder or pervasive development disorder, not otherwise specified in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders criteria. They have used this model when they were measuring for the children. Autism generally was classified confirming by the ADOS-G. So I know a lot of us might use the ADOS when we are referring whether the child is on the spectrum or not, and that was also the referring point and the exam that was used here. Estimated by clinicians, the mean age was months. The range was 25 to 36 months with a mean difference of 8.82 months. An evaluation using the Vineland Adaptive Behavior Skills, VABS, we've talked about it before. This was administered by a psychologist to the children before and after the intervention in order to compare their development and assess any progress in the user test period. The VABS measures the personal and social skills of individuals from birth through their adulthood. Next, let's talk about the intervention time breakdown. An intensive ABA intervention was delivered to the participants by an ABA team performing 15 hours at home in the afternoon and from 10 to 14 hours at school in the morning each week, ensuring that at least at the very minimum, each child was hitting 25 hours of ABA therapy every single week for all 9 months of the intervention. The ABA intervention requires a high level of attention from the children. So the first few months were spent bringing all of the children up to a homogeneous level so that there isn't too much variability when it comes to the beginning of the data collection period. Since only 3 of the 7 participants had already received an intensive ABA, this was also deemed necessary. The intervention delivered normally 2 3-hour sessions per day. So each child was receiving 6 hours of intervention every single day, and then they were split in half. 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. The user test also included 2 intervals of 4.5 months. The first interval, each child performed intensive traditional ABA sessions, while in the second one, each child was enrolled in a mixed educational intervention, including both approaches. 1 traditional and second a technology-enhanced ABA. For the feedback that was used, they reverted back to a questionnaire comprising 2 parts evaluating both the traditional, okay, there we go. In the first one, each child performed intensive traditional ABA sessions, while in the second one, each child was enrolled in a mixed educational intervention using both approaches. For the feedback, they've used a questionnaire comprising of 2 parts evaluating both the traditional ABA intervention as well as the one that was supported by the ABCD combined with the technology enhanced intervention. And this was designed according to the Likert type scale. And for each question, it offered an optional free text comment. This was not much used by the families. They much preferred the likely to least likely part. The qualitative assessment was paper and an ABCD collected data, as well as the Vineland scale used at the end of the intervention as well. Alrighty, so results from the study. The study collected 47 questionnaires. Of these, 70% were from trained ABA professionals, whether they were tutors, senior tutors, or outside consultants. 6% were from teachers, and all of the others were from parents of the participants. Nearly the entire sample of users, 91%, were satisfied with being part of the ABCD SW project. 3 participants, 6.3%, expressed partial satisfaction, preferring other approaches such as video modeling, and they have also used the word rigid when describing ABA. 98% of the participants declared that their child showed progress in different abilities. 72% even characterized this to be significant improvement, while 26% characterized it as having some improvement. Still very, very impressive results for this study. The app data eventually gave back to say that it seems to empower the participants, since on average, it took from 2 to 4 sessions for 1 article or 1 skill to be mastered in a specific program via the ABCD SW model, compared to the traditional intervention, which was measured to require 3 to 6 sessions. That is a significant time decrease needed for mastering a single skill. Since recording depended on each child's behavior, data was not always complete and accurate. In the pilot test, it was observed some gaps in the traditional ABA. For example, not all trials were recorded. This impedes a fair comparison between the timing of the articles mastered in the traditional versus the technology-enhanced sessions. However, the ABCD-SW, which enables accurate tracking and monitoring of the child's learning path, it's also been noted to be remarkable that 2 children starting ABA with this project, S, noted to be a younger participant with medium severity, and SI, who is a participant with a higher level of severity, they have mastered only a few articles in the first period, and the ratio article session was 1.7 to 2 respectively. They were not far from E and T. E being a participant with high severity and T being a participant with medium severity. And their ratio article sessions were 2.3 and 2.1 respectively. Now, of the children who have received more years of ABA intervention and are far used to the software, mainly for generalization of previous mastered articles, they showed the same exact level of data. It is presumable that the technology enhanced proceeds is faster since the DTT path is usually shortened by the tutor, where if you are using the technology, the path normally goes to the pace of the child themselves rather than reverting back to the tutor. Let's talk a little bit more about the discussion, the time, enjoyment, and the caregiver personalization and cost. These were the main points of contention amongst the people giving feedback to the study. The use of the ABCDSW during the ABA therapy sessions helped make the intervention go more rapid. This was measured during the time used for each session. The use of the ABCDSW during the ABA therapy sessions helped make the children's intervention more pleasant. This was reported by parents as well as tutors. And this was also reported by facial expressions measured on the child while they were using the technology-enhanced intervention. The use of the ABCDSW during the ABA therapy sessions also helped make the intervention easier for caregivers, as they did not have to prepare as much materials before each session. The ABCDSW also was noted to allow much easier personalization than any traditional ABA session, as any personalization could simply be downloaded off the internet, and they did not need to make any purchases, so the cost was also down, the app was low, etc., etc. Now let's talk a little bit more about the app and its use and some unforeseen application that was measured through this study. So the app is obviously free to use, but coordinating intense interventions was difficult. So that is noted that even though you have an app that is available for everyone to use, getting the tutors, getting the school, getting 25 to 30 hours of intense ABA is very difficult to coordinate for each child. So that is not something that the technology-enhanced ABA can help with. In conclusion, this free open source is a tool that can help parents, tutors, and psychologists perform basic ABA programs. It has improved the rapidity and the accuracy compared to traditional interventions. Moreover, it can also be used by non-clinical personnel, thus sustaining families in their daily burden in rehabilitating a child on the spectrum. Since the software is designed as a rehabilitation tool, it is meant to be employed in a one-to-one intervention. So another drawback is that unless completely reprogrammed to do so, this application is limited to one-on-one interventions, cannot be used for group projects, in the community outings, yada, yada, yada. The pilot study provided an unexpected result as well. A child with attention problems who was unable to watch TV or use computers with a high number of self-stimulating behaviors and with severe learning difficulties began to learn quickly and easily using the ABA program as it was mapped on the ABCDSW. So this study invites future researchers to dive deep into using technology-enhanced interventions with children who have any kind of attention problems, specifically who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. Let's talk at the end of our 7 dimensions of ABA. I am going to open up the floor for what you guys think. Is there any dimensions that have been used in the study that we can see? And then we can talk a little bit more about what I think happened here, which dimensions are very effectively used, and which ones I do not see to be proven via the study. I'm just going to go open up the chat and see what you guys think. All right.
Hi, Haneen. I really enjoyed this article because now this is exactly what we're looking for in the future is that we want to make sure that we are making ABA accessible, and research such as such research can give us hopes about how we can convert our traditional ABA methodologies and to make it more IT friendly, since a lot of things after COVID or during COVID, all the places have shut down, and that kind of converted and pushed everyone to be more tech savvy, and think about that out of thinking about applying this create trial training in a very creative way. And I just want to also really quickly talk to the listeners today about the 7 dimensions of ABA. Now, I don't know if some of you guys, I mean, if you're a BCBA, you should know the basic 7 dimensions of ABA. And usually, what we do is we judge articles and give a score out of 7 whether they met the 7 dimensions of ABA or not. And that is important because most of our work that we do, even when we're writing programs or writing interventions, we want to make sure that those 7 dimensions are also met. So when we're talking about generality, basically we want to make sure that this article is applicable and being able to provide durability over time. Have we seen that this the children results that they have shared with us in the article, have they done like a long-term check-ins, whether it had did it spread in a wide variety of behaviors, would they maintain the behaviors, have that been discussed in the articles, Haneen?
Much to my knowledge, at the end of the article, they've only opened up the floor for further investigation using other technology enhanced ABA applications. For this specific article, since it was a long commitment, I believe it was 9 months, where they were having 4.5 months of not using it all, just bringing up the kids up to pace using ABA, and then 4.5 months where you had the control group where they were using ABA versus not. However, after the wrap up of the study, I do not believe they ever went back and remeasured the kids, or if they've even stayed consistently using this particular model.
All right. And do you think that we've seen that the study has applied to different skills, or was it only with one skill that they're focusing on? Because I know that they did the Vineland and they did the ADOS.
Yeah.
So they've targeted several different skills,
Right.
right?
Yes. I believe that they've used many different skills. They've measured some social skills as well as some academic skills. They've used a lot of matching abilities. They've kind of brought up the kids up to pace where it came to understanding their current academic levels. I'm not sure of the specifics because the study itself doesn't talk about specifically which programs were run versus which not, but I do know that they've covered both academic and social skills as well.
Right. So they do have more than one skill to test whether this program has an impact on their skills.
Absolutely.
So do you think like, and I want to open the floor to the people here, do you think that do they need generality, because we want to make sure that this kind of intervention or this app that they created had an impact in not just one skill but several different skills to see the result that there has been an impact? And so you mentioned that they did focus on more than one skill. But I've seen like other people have a different perspective. Someone said it doesn't seem like it, and that it has been studied post the duration of the study. So I would question it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to give a one for that yet. So maybe we'll come back to it. Let's move on to effectiveness. When we talk about effectiveness, we want to make sure that the intervention that has been studied are effective when they improve a behavior in a particular manner or matter. And if the application of the behavior techniques does not produce large enough effects on the practical value, then the application has failed. That's according to Bear and Wolf Risley in 1968, and that is the effectiveness part of ABA interventions. So, did it have an impact? Did this intervention of using this kind of intervention, of using the ABCD software, did it have a large enough effect on,
So, in this particular study, just going back by the questionnaire itself, right? The measurement of the questionnaire says that it was effective using the parents and the tutors and the teachers' own words. There was a large kind of overwhelming evidence that it has been effective for them, that it did show significant change. However, my concern goes back to the generality. Did this effectiveness go over time? Has it continued to be effective, or was it only effective for as long as the study was happening?
Yeah. So probably I would give a one for that. So it had an impact on the effectiveness.
For sure.
What do you guys think? Anyone from the audience? Do you feel that they've showed the effectiveness of their program, or are you still like questioning their interventions? Because great. So we have someone said, and thanks for reading the article. 72% have claimed significant progress, and they said everyone said this. They will agree too on that one. So yeah, so 1 out of 7, yay. So going to the next dimension, which is technological, right? So what do we mean by technological? When we talk about technological, we want to make sure the procedures are described clearly so that others, that want to implement this procedure accurately, and all steps are written out in a very detailed manner so that you can get, similar results as the study has claimed. Is that easy to apply? Is it something that maybe a BCBA can pick up on this article and go like, okay, let's check it out. Let me apply this. Let me try it out, and let me see if this will help one of my kids with like matching or, with discrimination skills. What do you think, Haneen?
I think so, simply because of the fact that the app is available to use, and the study itself. I'm sure a lot of you have read it. It does have snapshots from the app itself and how each kind of data point was inputted into the app, and how to measure that data continuously. So I believe that if you were to take the application, make it person specific to your kiddo, I believe you will have similar results. However, I am concerned with the volume of hours that is being kind of demanded to achieve this level of result. Obviously they've kind of adapted the AI-BI model, which means that we are talking 20, 30, 40 hours per week, which is still a huge commitment, a huge investment for families, and I'm not sure if it's there yet. And what would it look like if you showed a lower commitment? What would it look like if you only invested 10, 15 hours per week? Would it show the same level of improvement? Would it, be technological then? I don't know. Let's see what the research says.
Yeah, so we're probably someone said they think that it was clear, explained and illustrated with pictures and graphs. So they were able to let us know. And I think I was like looking around about this application software, and there is a demo on YouTube of like how they created it. It was like an Italian software.
Yeah.
And then let's say, we've got now 2 points, effective and technological.
Mm,
So that's 2 out of 7. Let's look at the application, applied, the
mm,
A for applied. A behavior change is applied, of course, when it enhances or improves someone's everyday life. So you can see that those learners had skills that could actually improve socially significant behaviors. What do you guys think? Do you think that this study showed that they applied this program on socially significant behaviors that could help them to have better quality of life, let's say?
I'm gonna wait for everyone's answer. I have one in my mind, but I am partial, so I'm gonna see what everyone says.
Yeah. And I think while people are writing out things, I think one of the things that we're always concerned as clinicians is that, we have this dilemma between what the parents want versus what is the skill gonna really,
Yeah.
add
Is it
value to
a
the.
skill? Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Is it a cusp behavior? And so, for example, matching pictures. Why am I matching pictures?
absolutely.
And okay, the receptive language. Why do I need to follow those instructions? What's going to benefit my life? So always gearing our interventions towards enhancing, our kiddos' skills and to make their hopefully make a significance in their life. So what do you
Absolutely.
guys think? Anyone, do you think that their skills, do you remember what skills they were targeting, Haneen?
Yes, I have actually looked it up as we were speaking,
Yeah.
and I found that they have targeted communication, receptive, expressive, and written. They have also targeted daily living skills, whether it is personal, domestic, or within the community. They have also targeted socialization. So we're talking about interpersonal relationships, play skills, coping skills, making valid use of leisure time. Also, we're talking about some motor skills, which is often targeted by even us, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, yada, yada, yada.
Right. So what do you guys think? Does anyone have an opinion about the skills that has been targeted in the intervention
We
when
have
they
some
were.
receptive and expressive. What does that mean? Are you saying that that was a good skill to kind of target, or would you prefer something different?
Yeah. Right. So, in my opinion, when we are looking at those skills, I think that definitely helps. That's, skills that will help build many important skills such as independency. And as one of our listeners has said, that there are skills that are critical to learning, and I completely agree with that. I'm just being very focused on time. Um,
Oh yeah, we're
we
almost
we have
done.
few more to go through, so we have the next dimension, which is conceptually systematic.
Right.
And when we talk about conceptually systematic, that's it's a heavy word, as we can say. And it's basically we're talking about whether interventions were consistent with the literature of behaviorism and the literature and research and principles they've been using, like the research-based techniques, and avoid like using any shortcuts in our teaching methodologies, but more like the evidence-based practices. And I know that they did mention, using DTT as their go-to
Fighting
technique,
model.
right?
So, yeah, they have. My concern is different, however. They haven't mentioned reverting to any BCBAs or RBTs. They haven't really talked about having anyone with a behavior analysis degree on board. All they said again and again was psychologists and ABA professionals, not really going back to that. So to me, the research itself should have kind of specified exactly which ABA model they were following, and if DTT, who designed the program, where did they prioritize the programs from? That is a criticism that I still have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. What I liked as well is that they use the importance of data collection,
Right.
making sure that things are being, taken consideration to make sure that there is positive reinforcement feedback and what was immediate, just like, the principles of positive reinforcement is all about,
Mhm.
and which was a really cool idea.
I like that as
And
well.
they did also mention, as one of the listeners said, errorless teaching and reinforcement.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think,
Yeah.
they've met that criteria. So that would be 4 out of 7 so far.
Yay.
Yay. So let's go to the next one, which is analytical.
Yeah.
As you know, for being an analytical intervention, the practitioner is able to show that whenever they're applying a certain variable, the behavior is produced, and whenever it's removed, the behavior is lost.
Right.
So it's like that pre and post, I guess. This is where
But they
they've,
didn't do the ABA model, right? It was simply AB, where they
yeah.
had a pre-intervention and a post-intervention. I
Mhm.
would have liked to have seen something where introduce the intervention, take it back, introduce it again, and see what the data looks like then. However, I did like the fact that they've measured, like you said, pre and post, and I like the fact that they've collected the same questionnaires, the same information twice from the same individuals to measure their progress. I like that as well. So
Yeah.
maybe half a point. I don't know how we do this.
Yeah. I always start wondering, like, when we are implementing any of those analytical interventions or strategies, especially with skills that they have already learned.
Mm,
Like, in my opinion, it might be a bit difficult to
it is.
unlearn something. So maybe, that, I don't know, maybe that would be the reason why they stuck to the pre and then the post to see like the before the intervention and after the intervention,
Absolutely.
because we can't like unlearn things. But I can see like how we can make it more analytical in the future, maybe comparing it with just a traditional way or something like that. So, um,
Absolutely.
yes, great. Also, they administered VABs twice. Thank you so much, Ranjini, for being so active with
I love
us.
it.
Um, Now, last but not least, we're talking about behavior. So, did they choose behaviors that we can measure and observe? And by defining a behavior that makes it easily recorded, we're able to prove the improvements, as well as the lack of improvements. We're not just looking at improvements, but also the lack of improvements. So, have they targeted, the AB dimension of behavioral?
I believe so. Just looking at the snapshot that they had from the research itself, it seemed like they had very specific behaviors targeted, and it also seems like they've had the tutors kind of follow through with those behaviors as well. So I would give it a yes, just for now.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
saw that
so
the
too.
measurement of data was there.
Sorry?
I saw that the measurement of data was there as well.
Yeah.
They've also kind of had some criticism to say when you have traditional ABA without the technology component, some things slip through the crack, which obviously we all know already. But the fact that they've confirmed it using this other model, I found to be very fresh. I like that.
Yeah. I think this is a wonderful article. 6 out of 7 is an actually amazing score. It's actually a really good score for us to judge an article. So this is something that ABA Journal Club's mission is all about, is that, when you are picking up an article that you want to apply in your clinic, or, in your center, or with your clinician clients, you want to make sure that you are, that your 7 dimensions of ABA is there. I always kind of like, whenever I sit with my, therapists here with me in my center, we always kind of like, I have the 7 dimensions hung on the wall, so that whenever we discuss, I was like, did you meet that one? Did you meet this one? And it kind of like goes like, oh, actually, it's not observable. Okay, how can we make it observable then? And so stuff like that. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Please don't forget to fill the CEU form, which is a link has been shared by Sarah. Thank you so much. So please do fill that form. so that you can get your CEU certifications. Again, I want to thank you, Haneen, for your amazing presentation and the choice of your article, and hopefully we will have you again. And thanks for your time. I know how busy you are. So thank you again for sharing your knowledge with everyone. And hopefully that will kind of add value to our work and read more about, how we can, enhance ABA through technology and, use technology to enhance ABA. And hopefully we'll have people, that are collaborating with software developers with BCBAs or others, board certifications to use ABA and make it easily accessible to many learners as we can. And if anyone wants to ask a question or anything like that, please feel free, or else you can send an email. If you want to contact Haneen, please, Haneen, if you want to drop your email there on the chat,
Do that.
if it's okay, so that they can also reach out to you if they like. Um, yeah, I think that's everything. There's nothing else that I can add. So thank you guys so much.
All right.
And the
Email.
recordings will be available. So yeah, your email is there on the chat. Great. And then the recording will be available hopefully in the YouTube channel of the ECAE. And then hopefully we will, you're free to share it. Unfortunately, the recordings will not have CEUs, but only the ones that have been with us today. So thank you guys so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. I think, Sarah, do you need to say something else? Sarah, please, if if anything else you want to add.
No, there's nothing I can add in terms of content, just in terms of logistics. Emirates College for Advanced Education is heading into our spring break at the end of this week, so we probably will have the recording up. It'll take a little longer than usual, but within the next few weeks it will be up on our website. So thank you so much to our presenter, our ABA Journal Club founders, and that is all for tonight. So good night or good morning, wherever you are. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks, Haneen. Bye
Bye.
bye.